I've got the newest information on Invest 91L, what the models are trending to today, and the potential impacts it could bring to the Eastern Caribbean next week. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather. It's great to see you on this Friday. I hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, I've got the latest information on Invest 91L. We'll take a deep dive into the models, how it's changed from 24 hours ago, and what it could still do and evolve as we go over the next several days. It's been an active day again in portions of our area. We'll look at that as well. Let's get started. Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida. They're your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. A storm comes into your area, you get damage of any kind, they can walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. Go to leanomnilaw.com if you would like more information. As always, love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section below where you're viewing from, what the weather has been like. You have a specific question about the forecast as we move through the video, feel free to drop it in the comment section below. Well, what a difference a day makes. Things have certainly changed, at least with what the models are hinting at with Invest 91L. Now, we still have a red area from the Hurricane Center as of this late Friday afternoon. Hurricane Center still has a 70% chance that 91L is going to develop into a tropical storm or a tropical depression, at least before it approaches the Lesser Antilles. But it was 90% yesterday, and there's a couple of reasons why we're beginning to see the Hurricane Center drop the potential for development, even though it's still high, and the models are beginning to trend down in potential development and in intensity. First thing is we got to look at what's happening with 91L. And as you can clearly see, there's not a lot of convection around this center right now, which is very weak. We always knew that this was going to be the time frame that Invest 91L was going to be encountering that upper trough with the drier air in red and the wind shear. The difference is that the models had 91L much stronger at this point in time compared to what is really happening. So the influence of that wind shear and that drier air is really ripping apart 91L. But I want to be clear, if maybe you've heard that this thing is completely dead, that there is no chance that this is going to develop, I'm here to tell you that that's not necessarily the case. We actually do have a very weak, elongated, closed center of circulation. So 91L is trying to hold on. If you look at the brighter cloud tops, the higher ones, don't look at those. Look at the lower level spin that you see around that center. Now look, it is extremely weak, but this thing still has a bit of life to it, if you will. And I don't want to sit here and say, look, we can completely discount this, okay? You know, we still have to monitor the trends and what ultimately could be happening. And I reiterate again that the Hurricane Center at this point in time still has a red area, but it's good to see that 91L has gotten a little bit weaker in the last 24 hours, and the models have certainly come down a bit as well. Now, when you guys watch my videos, first of all, hopefully you get something out of them, and hopefully you guys, trust the things that I'm saying, right? I have mentioned many times that the early part of these developing systems, it's a blessing and a curse. I've used that phrase so many times when we don't have a true center of circulation with these storms. We have a lot of model data, we have satellite data, but before we get a true low-level center, these models have a really tough time picking up on things. So we never want to put too much emphasis on one particular model or one particular model run. So just like we don't want to put too much emphasis in the global models, which had a hurricane coming into the Eastern Caribbean in less than a week, we can't fully discount that from yesterday's model runs. We don't want to fully completely go with the fact that some of these models never have 91L developing. Is it a possibility that the models bust and 91L simply never develops? Absolutely. Is there still a chance that we get a depression or a tropical storm with some impacts into the Lesser Antilles mid next week? Absolutely. It's good to see that the trends of the models intensity-wise have come down. Okay, but we should expect this kind of volatility before we get a closed center, which again, with 91L may never fully develop, but there still appears to be a high opportunity that something could get going down the road. So that's kind of the latest of, Invest 91L as far as what's been happening between now and 24 hours ago. So we get into the models and you're going to see some big differences here as far as what the models have been trying to bring up. So Again, 70% chance of development from the hurricane center. Now, this could still trend down. They could continue to lower this. It was 90% yesterday, but at this point in time, we take it for what they're saying, and that there's still a higher or a better than 50-50 chance that we're going to get at least a tropical depression or a tropical storm before the Lesser Antilles mid next week. This is the GFS deterministic model. Remember, this time yesterday, it had a hurricane moving into the central Lesser Antilles Wednesday and into Thursday. At this point in time, this is what it has of 91L. Again, not fully gone, but a very weak, small system getting into the Lesser Antilles as we move into Wednesday and Thursday, but certainly appreciably not having significant impacts, right? More squally weather with some gusty winds and some heavier downpours than anything else, but not a concentrated wind field that would cause a lot of damage associated with it right now. Again, is this a flop of the model? Or is this a trend that will continue? We have to see how it bears out. Obviously, we can use our eyes and see that 91L doesn't look very good today, so the models are hinting on that. But you can see that this is what we have for the GFS model deterministic from Invest 91L, and then just kind of elongating itself and becoming a rainmaker towards the Virgin Islands in Puerto Rico and Hispaniola. But again, never fully developing, and certainly not to the intensity that it had just 24 hours ago. Let's take a look at the winds associated with this. So I'm going to pull up our surface winds. Same model, GFS deterministic. Again, once this starts to run, you're going to see that there is still a closed center. Now, it's going to take some time to develop. It may not develop until late this weekend or even on Monday, but it doesn't fully go away, even on the GFS. But obviously, intensity-wise, much weaker than 24 hours ago. So here it kind of comes towards Barbados, and it's a little bit more south in latitude. Remember, the weaker storms were always going to be more south and west. So this never fully develops. Now maybe it moves a little bit farther south overall into the Lesser Antilles. But this is something we could easily handle if the GFS model plays out. It's kind of a day or two of squally weather with some areas getting beneficial rain, but obviously kicking up the surf and sea conditions and a lot of wind. You can't rule out a little bit of wind damage with this, but these are winds of tropical depression strength or maybe weak tropical storm strength. And again, yesterday at this time, the GFS model deterministic had a hurricane coming into the Lesser Antilles. But again, we don't want to go too high end with this, and we don't want to go too low end, because most of the models still have some potential development with this system as we get towards midweek. Let's take a look at the ensembles, and again, you're going to see a clear difference with this. There is just not much there on the GFS model today, right? And it obviously has picked up on the fact that 91L is struggling mightily at this point in time. So great trends with the GFS model. The European model is trending downward as well, just not as much as the GFS model. So you are going to see on the ensemble members of the GFS, there are still some developing ensemble members. Some of them are still on the stronger side. Timing has backed up a little bit as well. Again, kind of a weaker, more erratic system might take a little bit longer to develop and not have as much forward speed. So maybe not like late Tuesday, Wednesday, but more like as early as late Wednesday, but generally maybe through the Thursday timeframe now as well. So this is Thursday night, same model. I just took a snapshot, step to this side. Again, you have less ensemble members today of the European model showing potential development, which is a great trend. You still have a couple with development and one or two on the stronger side, closer to the northern side of the Lesser Antilles. Remember, a stronger storm is likely to gain latitude quicker. So if it were to become strong, which again, the chance now looks less than certainly it did compared to 24 hours ago, it would have potentially tracked closer to the Leeward Islands, Antigua, Barbuda, Anguilla, places like that. And again, a few of the models, ensemble members bring it back down towards places like Dominica and the Martinique areas. Boy, the Icon model really has flipped. This time yesterday, it had a very powerful hurricane on the doorstep of the Lesser Antilles late Wednesday, Thursday. Now again, it still keeps a system, but a much weaker system, and then almost begins to fade it out as it gets closer to the Lesser Antilles as we move into Wednesday and Thursday. So again, not completely done with 91L, but certainly a lot less than what we had yesterday off of the Icon model. Now remember, those were the three global models that I showed you yesterday, which all had hurricanes coming into the Lesser Antilles. We had just started to see our tropical models like the H, WRF, and the half A and half B model beginning to run because we finally got an invest. So I want to show you that. This is the half A model, the latest run of this. Again, not fully evaporating 91L, but certainly a much weaker solution than what the global models had yesterday. I will say this. The HAFSA, HMON, HWRF models, those varieties never really picked up on the stronger solutions that the global models had. Maybe because once they started to initialize yesterday, they realized that that storm wasn't as strong as what the global models tried to paint on. But again, faster with this, weaker, so kind of late Tuesday towards the Guadalupe area, Dominique, and north. The greens here were going to be some winds of 25 to 30 miles an hour sustained. The yellows and the oranges get you to near tropical storm strength, but away from the center. So this would be a tropical depression, more than likely, but fairly weak on the south side, but bring more windy weather to the Leeward Islands late Tuesday, overnight into Wednesday. But again, squally weather, gusty winds, heavy downpours, more than anything with a tight wind field and damaging winds associated with it. HWRF is the strongest out of any of them, okay? This would be a tropical storm, Gabrielle, coming into, again, the central side, the Lesser Antilles, Wednesday afternoon. So, places like Guadalupe and Dominica and Martinique and areas north, and especially on the northern side of this. Don't look so much at the exact location here, but just the fact that the HWRF model, again, these are sustained winds, does have a tropical storm coming through. So, if you've heard, again, the death of 91L, it's trending down significantly, but it's not completely done as of yet. But I've liked what I've seen, and we'll see how it plays out. And again, it happens from time to time, my friends. These models can bust as early as we're looking at some of this development without that true close center of circulation. The GFS tracks, again, you're going to see are through the Lesser Antilles, those that keep it going, but there's a lot more green and grays on these lines, which are pressures of 1,000 millibars or higher. Again, weak tropical storm, tropical depression, not even anything. Some of them spread to the north, more to the south. But again, none of this is nearly as intense as what we had yesterday. And the European model is even weaker. The deterministic actually just kind of fades away before the Lesser Antilles, and only a few of those ensemble members make it all the way into the Eastern Caribbean. So what are the key messages as of this late Friday? And we know that things are going to change, right? Again, the Hurricane Center still has a 70% chance that 91L becomes a tropical depression or a tropical storm before the islands. It was 90 yesterday, so we'll see if they want to continue to back off of that based on the trends. But at this point in time, again, it's still better than a 50-50 shot. The models have certainly trended weaker, and some never develop 91L. But we don't want to put our guard down as of yet. There's no doubt about that, right? Interest in the Lesser Antilles, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico should continue to monitor. We've never been in action mode with this, my friends. This has always been watch and wait mode. And if you live in those areas, that's what you should continue to do. Just continue to stay updated on the forecast. I mean, obviously check in with local government and officials, but I'll have the daily forecast for you guys as well. So those are the key messages with 91L. Obviously a significant change from yesterday. It does happen from time to time, but it's trending on the better side for us, right? We would much rather have a weaker system coming through the area than anything. Friends, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for taking a quick second, hitting that like button for me right now. Subscribe to the channel. If you haven't as of yet, you want these tropical updates, you want your daily forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, you found your home here at Meteo Mundo. Thanks for sharing this channel with your family and friends as well. Appreciate all those who have found other ways to support us here on the channel as well. So now we're going to get into what's been happening across the rest of our area. Always keeping a close eye on 91L as we go through the rest of the weekend and into next week. We continue to see our boundary producing copious amounts of storms in the northern and the northwest Bahamas. I'm going to bring on the surface winds for you right now as well. We've had some gusts from time to time. The first thing you'll see is our temperatures pop on here real quickly. At least they should. I don't know, let's see here. They might just go straight to our winds. Waiting. There we go. All right, so these are the winds. Now, we haven't had too strong of winds in the Bahamas, but I just want you to note in the Keys and in Miami, we've had some 30+ mile an hour wind gusts, but we continue to have overcast skies, waves of rain and storms, some spin in the atmosphere, just a really wet, nasty forecast over Walker's Key, Freeport, Lucaya, Grand Bahama, the Abacos, Bimini, Nassau, New Providence, Andros, more concentrated here than they are in the central Bahamas at this point in time. But locally heavy downpours are coming along for the ride. These are some pretty nasty storms and they're not moving very quickly. So again, producing some locally heavy rain and some isolated flooding, not out of the question for today. If you live in these spots, make sure you really keep a vigilant eye on things here. Watch out for some of those low-lying areas to flood. I mean, obviously we're talking about some islands here, so that can happen in a short order in most areas. Switch back over to the the enhanced satellite imagery here. We'll drop off the radar data. And again, showers and storms could develop a little bit farther south into the central and the southeast Bahamas, but for today, they'll be more confined in the northwest Bahamas. Eventually, this boundary is going to dissipate throughout the weekend, but it is going to take our time. Now, as you guys know, we have live cameras here at Meteo Mundo. This is a live look late on this Friday afternoon to central Eleuthera. I've been watching this camera throughout the day, and from time to time, we've had some overcast skies, a couple of showers work their way through Eleuthera. It hasn't been an all-out wet day for sure, many dry hours, but we've picked up a breeze from time to time as well. We've had some gorgeous shots from Long Island. I love this camera here. This is looking off to the west. You see a nice shower in the distance there on the right-hand side of your screen. And again, that just has been the case across the area. And when we haven't had the showers in the area, the winds haven't been too significant, but just more rain across the northern and the central Bahamas on this Friday. Storms will continue to develop farther to the south, back down towards Cuba. Again, they haven't gone as gangbusters today as they have the last couple of days. This boundary is a little bit more diffuse today. It's beginning to start to fall apart, but it's still promoting some healthy thunderstorms even into the northwest Bahamas. You can see that flow coming out of the northeast and getting back into Jamaica, where it's been another stormy afternoon. We've had a few storms as far east as the eastern side of St. Mary Parish, St. Andrew, Kingston parishes, and then off towards the west, especially the interior hilly locations, and our friends on the west coast as well, from Montego Bay to Lucy, Negril. A lot of lightning associated with this, some good healthy downpours, good thunderstorms on this late Friday afternoon. You guys live in Jamaica, let me know in the comments section below if you've had some of that healthier rain. Trying to crop up a couple of showers and an isolated thunderstorm over the Cayman Islands. We've had some good downpours across these islands the last couple of afternoons. Right now, it's a bit more spotty in nature, but we still have a decent chance. Certainly a lot spottier in Haiti and the Dominican Republic, where we've had copious amounts of rain the last couple of days. Nice little breeze there, Santiago de los Caballeros, Santo Domingo, north and east, an isolated thunderstorm, but you just look at the lightning count and there just hasn't been nearly as much for today, as that axis of moisture has pushed farther off to the north and to the west. Thunderstorms are trying to develop at a couple of spots over Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Again, your wind gusts right now, 20, 25, couple of isolated thunderstorms across the St. Croix area or just offshore, Vieques and Culebra towards St. John. Still highest concentration interior western sides of the island towards the Ulti Alto area, San Sebastian, trying to build up towards Isabela and the Aguadilla area. San Juan could catch an isolated shower or storm a little bit later in the day. But, again, many dry hours and locations. Certainly the storms today aren't that widespread. Got a couple of pictures to show you out of this. Out of this area. I appreciate Barbie King sending in this one from St. Kitts. Yesterday, you can see some of the clouds and some of the rain billowing up across the island there. And then I love this shot from Mike in St. Croix. He said, boy, I wish some of those thunderstorms would roll over the island. That one's just offshore. I don't think the dogs mind it as much, though, Mike. Looks like they're enjoying things under the shade. Appreciate Mike and Barbie sending in those pictures across their respective areas to help tell the weather story. We'll continue to see, again, the opportunity for a few showers and storms across the Lesser Antilles the remainder of today and again on Saturday as well. Now, they're going to be spottier in Anguilla, St. Bart, St. Martin, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Kitts and Nevis, Barbuda, Antigua, Montserrat. As you get down towards Guadeloupe, we're going to see a little bit more tropical moisture coming in on your Saturday. You can just see little streaks of clouds coming in with that low-level moisture, but as I go farther south in the island chain, you're going to see some of this cloud coverage get a little bit thicker. And when I switch back over to the infrared satellite imagery, we do have more tropical moisture, and again, has nothing to do with 91L, just another elongated axis of tropical moisture moving back into the windward islands. So I do expect rain chances to ramp up a bit, and this could even start late on this Friday, overnight into Saturday, and then through portions of the weekend. Focus more on Saturday than Sunday for places like St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, especially back down towards TNT. And you can clearly see the rain already beginning to develop again. We have extra cloud coverage over Trinidad at the hour. Some of this moisture will lift north towards Tobago and Grenada as well. One of our other live cameras is Corinth, St. Lucia. Again, it's kind of a hit or miss shower today with some cloud coverage, but some blue sky out there. Relatively speaking, it's a nice end to the week here in St. Lucia. And hopefully my friends there will have a nice weekend ahead as well. Although again, at least for Saturday, there'll be the opportunity for a couple of showers. Heard we had a little bit of rain in the ABC Islands the last 24 hours, so that's great to hear. It's been pretty spotty in nature still. That's the visible satellite imagery for you here. Still have the wind gusts, so at least we're not getting some 30-mile-an-hour winds, but we've increased the tropical moisture just enough to provide that opportunity. Now, love this shot again from the Oranjestad area. This is Eagle Beach. Beautiful, breezy, turquoise sky, turquoise water right out of the beach line there. But again, it's just a fantastic shot. You notice so there's a little vertical development to some of the cloud coverage. So we just don't have those thin high cirrus clouds for today. Again, some of that cloud coverage could hold just enough moisture to produce a couple of isolated, fast-moving showers, but it's not going to be very widespread. And then we'll work our way towards the western side of the Caribbean. Again, thunderstorms are pretty prolific right now over Panama and Costa Rica. The monsoon trough is still very much activated, so it's just waves of heavy rain and storms there. It does dry out fairly quickly, but we're building in some storms a little bit farther north than what we had most of the week through Nicaragua, through the eastern sides of Honduras. These are going to swing in and try and make a run towards San Pedro Sula, La Ceiba, the Roatan, Utila, Guanaja areas, portions of Belize, and then up towards Quintana Roo. We've had some fresh winds and a few thunderstorms developing over the Cancun area at the hour. But again, relatively speaking, these storms have been fairly isolated in nature overall. All right, so let's get into the forecast here by doing that, and then switch on over to our model and bring that up. And I'm just going to bring this out over the next 3 days. And we're going to take a quick look at what's going to be happening in your area through the weekend ahead and into Monday as well. Again, at this point in time, 91L is going to have no influence to our area through this time frame. So through the weekend, we don't have to worry about that. Again, some of you guys have said you guys need that rain desperately. I do expect a couple of more showers to move back into the Lesser Antilles, especially into the Windward Islands in general. But is it going to be one of those forecasts that's going to run you indoors a lot? More than likely not. More nuisance showers and, an isolated passing storm from time to time. But the weekend overall looks pretty good here in this area, including the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Scattered showers will return to the Dominican Republic and Haiti, but again, be a little bit more isolated than what we've had most of the week, although today was relatively dry. The ABC Islands could continue to see a few showers here. Still got that broad spin, again, with our monsoon trough. So this is not tropical in nature, but there is rich tropical moisture to squeeze out a lot of rain here with some flooding potential that continues in these areas, and they'll spin up a little bit farther north, so into the northern sides of Honduras and Belize and Guatemala and portions of the Yucatan. Rain chances should begin to improve here. An area that wouldn't mind drying out a bit is going to be the Bahamas. We will continue to see a decent opportunity for rain, especially in the northern and the northwest Bahamas, places like Nassau and Freeport, Lucaya for your Saturday. The rain should break apart a little bit more on Sunday and then really begin to dry out a bit more on Monday. Does that mean it's going to be completely dry? No. And the interesting thing about this is there is another moisture axis coming back into the southeast United States. Will stall out over Florida midweek. And my friends in the Bahamas, we might be running this right back again the same time next week with copious amounts of moisture feeding into those areas. Bermuda is a spot that should stay relatively dry until midweek. We'll start to see some rain coming off of the United States East Coast. So boaters, obviously, what's going to be happening in the Eastern Caribbean and even closer to the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos will be very dependent on what happens with 91L. Again, this model that you're looking at is based off of the GFS model. So again, it doesn't fully wipe out 91L, but obviously it's a big change from this time yesterday. So Wednesday into Thursday, again, if we do get some kind of broad center of circulation on your map, 8-9 foot waves, 2-3 meter waves could be moving back into portions of the Lesser Antilles. It's a small, compact storm, so it's very hard to tell at this point in time which islands could be most impacted by that as it moves through, but it should have some forward speed if nothing else. But you can clearly see, again, some fresher winds. More than likely, we're going to get some marine advisories if this holds together, some high surf, some small craft advisories, swells. That could all be an issue. Rain continues to be a problem in the northwest Bahamas. Again, a lot of rain is possible here. We're going to continue to see copious amounts of rain in the southern sides of Central America, spotty or heavier rain for Cuba and Jamaica. And again, here comes what the European model has with 91L And the deterministic run, again, keeps it north of the islands as a broad, elongated system that never fully develops. What a difference a day makes associated with that, and it continues to move out of the area as well. So friends, obviously some big changes with this. You know I'm going to keep you updated. It does happen from time to time with these smaller systems and these systems that have never fully developed, but we don't want to put our guard down, right? And I'm going to continue to keep you updated. You can follow us across Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook. If you would like to send me a picture or video, it's mymeteomundo@gmail.com. Look, as always, you have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comment section below. While you're down there, please take a quick second, hit that like button for me, and subscribe to the channel. And please remember that Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida. They're your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. You get wind, hail, hurricane damage. They'll walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. They do offer free consultation and policy reviews. So you got nothing to lose. Go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. Friends, have a great rest of your day. You know I'm going to keep you updated. I've got the latest for you tomorrow coming up right here at Meteo Mundo.